As we heard there, the big question now is where those people will go, and as well as questions around the broader impact of this eviction. Let's bring in Elizabeth Barnett. She's the executive director at the Bloom Group. That's an organization based in Vancouver that provides social services to address homelessness in the downtown Eastside. She's in Salt Spring Island, BC tonight. Hi, thanks for taking the time, Elizabeth.
Hi, thank you for asking me.
So maybe just for those across the country who aren't familiar with this area, can you provide some context on the downtown East Side and what it kind of looks like on an average day?
Sure. Well, it's a historic area. It's one of the oldest areas of Vancouver. It contains a main thoroughfare, that Hastings Street, which is where the majority of these tents and structures are located. It connects most of the city on the side of the water, and the tents are concentrated on Hastings because it's an easy travel route. There's buses, etc. It would be one of the first streets for folks to see when they arrive in the city, the cruise ship terminals, etc. So it's as I said, it's a historic building, and then to the north of Hastings Street is an area called Gastown, which is where Vancouver started in 1880s, the city. And so that area is full of historic shops, and it's a very big tourist area, so there's tents and areas there that are also occupied by folks who have no homes.
Right, and so there is the question of these two areas very close to each other, a sort of downtown touristy area near these encampments, and I will ask you a little bit more about that in a second. But let me ask you this: we heard there about brawl, police deploying pepper spray, a number of arrests made. This is something that we have seen not just in Vancouver. We've seen it in Toronto with encampments as well. But talk to me about the issue in Vancouver and what makes it unique. And you say that this is not just a housing affordability issue. This needs to be addressed from a more holistic approach needs to be taken.
Yes. I have a little saying: you can't build enough doors to solve this. Homelessness is part of it, having no place to live. As you know, Vancouver is one of the most expensive cities in BC, Canada, the world perhaps. Folks who are either working in very low wage jobs or not working and relying on provincial support would not be able to afford a typical rent. So even if you built subsidized housing, thousands of homes, you're still not going to solve the issues of homelessness involved with intergenerational trauma, the residential school memories, and active lifestyles of folks trying to recover from that trauma. You're not going to be able to deal with people who have significant barriers to their employment due to racism. You're not going to be able to solve the issues of children being in schools where they may not feel welcome, or adults who are experiencing prejudice because of their sexual orientation. It is not just about housing. It's a systemic barrier to folks who are seen as other folks, other people. They're not seen as citizens or neighbors. It's a larger problem than just housing. And I think the woman that you talked to earlier is spot on, that folks who face these barriers do have expertise that the government and others should be listening to. We tend, as a community, to go with folks that we identify with. So if there's a neighborhood of folks who are living in these tents and structures, let's talk to them about what it is they'd like to see as an option.
Right.
As I said, it's a deep issue.
So to that end, with police moving in, clearing this out, we heard there that there isn't much of a plan for where they're going to go, but obviously where they're going to go is only one part, as you say. What would you like to see from government officials? I mean, you kind of answer that in saying, talk to these folks and ask them what they need. Mm-hmm. But you say this is not just a city or a provincial problem. This has to be dealt with at a federal level as well.
Yes, I think so. I think one of the issues, again, I'm not an expert in housing, but I do think that the interplay between the three levels of government doesn't often doesn't work the way we'd like it to work. You have very large systems trying to, create change, and that may be a bit of a challenge for those three levels. You can't download housing responsibility from a federal level to a provincial level and then to a municipal level. Vancouver, Toronto, Nanaimo, Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, wherever you go, there's groups of folks who have nowhere to live. And it's not just one kind of issue. So I think the interplay between the three levels of government would be really important. Just for your viewers to remember that these are brothers and sisters and children of someone else. These are not other folks. These are our neighbors and our relatives.
And to that end, I mean, we just last quick question. We mentioned that this is in proximity to downtown businesses, other residents. The fire chief citing fire hazards as well. There is a safety element. How do you balance that in addressing this issue and dealing with it and the concerns of people in the area, but at the same time ensuring that these folks get what they need?
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent question. And again, there's no easy answer. I think one of the things, Bloom's offices are in the downtown area, and we see folks camping in front of our administration offices and in some of our sites. And one of the things we've found is conversation, talking to people, perhaps offering them resource they don't know about, or just being a civilized neighbor. It does help folks feel respected and listened and heard. It's not not every person will respond to that, but we feel that it does. It's a starting place at least. It's unfortunate that the police end up being in the middle of all of this, because it has to be more than just police. There has to be social workers and educators and mental health workers in particular, folks, detox and an ability for folks to have treatment upon request. So it's a complex issue, but it does require some new thinking.
I have to leave it there. Elizabeth Barnett, Executive Director at the Bloom Group. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you for asking us.